on the three candidates that, for the three presentations that were made. So we'll open it up for discussion. Does anybody have a preference at this time, or do we need to discuss each one individually?
Well, if we have as good a candidates for the chancellor as we did for the consultant, I'll be half as good. I'll be very pleased. This is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of us talked at lunch. Everybody had their strengths.
Pluses and minuses.
I want to hear what everybody says. I guess my lean, I know there was a concern about responsiveness, but my lean was for PPL, mainly because I guess Ben Duran, 40 minutes away, he kind of brings the best of, a local perspective. Not right here, but still local. He's close by. And I like that he was just doing this search. I think they were the only ones that would commit to really focusing on us. I like they seem to be more hands-on than the other two. The consultants seem to do a lot of, and I think that's probably helpful. But that's kind of my lean. But that is a very hard choice.
Well, I'm a repressed sexist and racist, but I gotta go with the black lady.
Jeez, Don.
And
But in my opinion, I was thinking that it would be easy for me to reduce it down to two to discuss. And the two to discuss would be what Tom said and Don said. I think the cost of ACCT should not be ignored. And the plus that Pam Fisher brings with her knowledge of the district brings along with it, unfortunately, some negative baggage. So I don't know which would outweigh which. I don't want to say, but I would like to suggest that my opinion at this point would be to focus on the two other California firms.
how about you, Linda?
PPL, and I was looking at ACCT. Pam, Dr. Fisher, because she knows the area, because she understands what has gone on, the history. She knows the history of the college, and she knows the successes and the difficulties we've had. And I think she would do her best to find someone that would fit for our college. So those are the two I'm looking at. But
What's the other? Oh, PPL
PPL.
and ACCT?
yes, those are mine too.
I think there's just one, and it's CCSS. The PPL, I mean, I agree with the two. PPL,
Yeah.
and ACCT to me is,
That's all I want for you right now.
okay.
Mike?
I would be happy with any of the three.
Yeah, they're all good.
So I think that's good. I would love to hear from Gina and Joan and Michelle in terms of any contact and experience you've had with those firms, not just on CEO searches, but other searches as well, and anything else you'd like to do.
Well, I think right now what we're laying on the table here is whether we want to eliminate AAC or ACCT.
Let's just
To
vote.
me, they're all, to me, basically, they're all making the same approach. It's a matter of which we feel we'll be more comfortable with. And as far as, I take that into consideration. I don't think any of them would do a bad job, but I don't like the price of $40,000
Yeah,
plus.
that's the
Plus
only
the-
drawback.
Plus
transportation.
another $10,000 on top of that.
Yeah.
That she's indicated. So at this point in time, I'll probably just show of hands of who we oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Before you do that,
Oh.
Yeah.
could I just say a few things about that, just right now only, and I'll just speak now, and then I won't.
Sure.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Because I
No,
think
that's
it's now,
good.
before you eliminate that, because I thought that, I think you really get value added with Pam Fisher. And she would be my number one, and I just wanted to talk about why. And I understand, I don't have the numbers that you have, but I understand from your conversation that she's expensive. It really seems though that, and I understand also you may have a different perspective about her because you were she was the chancellor and you were the board, and I understand that. But what I see are a couple things. I really liked what she said about telling our story. I liked that a lot. And the other two only talked about that in a vague way, and she was specific. When the first person, he was talking about, are we the oldest, or is, whatever the other one is, and Sonoma or whatever it is. That's really an old joke. It's like joking about parking. That's old. She was talking about like Measure E building and BA and respiratory therapy and 10% reserve. Those things are now. And I thought that was a lot more exciting than talking about which school is the oldest community college. And that just showed me that she understands the now. I mean, obviously she has an inside track on understanding this district. And again, that brings pluses and minuses. So I think that, but I really like that metaphor of the story and how the story gets told is what brings people here. I thought that was very, very good. And then providing context and evidence. The second thing was she runs these leadership development things, and she does one in Asilomar, and I went to it, and it was really great. It was kind of transformative for me. She does a great, great job with that. But for us, what that means is she's been developing local leadership. I mean, developing people who will be vice presidents, chancellors. So that means she knows. She knows leadership because she's been helping develop leadership for the past, 10 years. So she knows, I'll bet her net is wider. Not just knowing people, but helping develop and grow people. And then the third thing was I really liked the reference checks in the middle. I thought that was really good because, wow, at the end you put all that time and money and then you find out that there's a bad thing. And I've been on committees where, we've Googled something and found out that there had been a vote of no confidence or something, and the consultant didn't even want to tell the committee, and we had to fight for that to come out. So I really like the openness of, we're going to tell you this person's lying. I thought that was really good, and it's a lot more useful to get rid of those and get rid of that before it gets to the board. So I certainly do understand. And just one other thing, on the first person, seemed like a perfectly nice person, but kind of old school. Not old himself, but I mean, they're all, obviously around the same age, but kind of an old ways. And the third one, I like her, and I remember her, and I think she's been very active as a college president or something, because I've seen her somewhere. But she wasn't very specific to us at all. The first one and the second one were a lot more specific. So, that's all that I will say, but I just wanted to throw that out there. And I understand that you come at it a different way, and I respect what you're doing. And I thank you for letting me say all that.
Sure.
Any other input from Gina, your perspective?
So I've had the opportunity to, I have worked with PPL and not worked with PPL because we reached out to them with some assistance with another search and got, we're too busy, we can't help you. And I just thought that was not a way to approach what we were asking. I also experienced, you may recall, we brought in an interim dean, Carol Bogey, into Columbia last semester, and Angie and I worked on that together, but it was incredibly difficult working with PPL, just their processes and their contract, and they wanted us to use their contract, and we didn't like their contract language. We had some things that Dorothy and Teresa felt really needed to be added from the liability perspective, and it was just this, and I thought, I don't want to work with that again. So that was my experience. And then lastly, I'll add that, and if she were here, I think she would share, but Angie has some concerns about confidentiality. She was the recipient on the end of PPL breaching confidentiality when she was in a different search, and they called her chancellor, and she was or called her president, and she was sitting in her position, and they had not even reached the point of authorizing any disclosures at that point. And it was an incredibly awkward and difficult situation, and for some individuals that could cost them their job. Not every CEO is as open when you are out there looking, and they might have said, hey, if you're out looking, there's the door, have a nice life. But we all know Angie and know that nobody would would hold that against her, but that speaks volumes to me.
How long ago was that, Gina?
6 months, a year ago, or before Angie started working here. She was
Yeah.
applying for jobs at the same time.
The search just before she
Two and a
came
half,
here.
year and a half. She's been here 2 years,
Yeah, it's been a minute now.
So 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years.
She came here in February, so she just
Whenever she
celebrated her
started, she was applying for
2 years
these
and 2
two
months
jobs.
ago. Yeah.
2 months and 2, yeah. Thank you. Time flies.
Some of you were here when Pam Fisher was chancellor. So did she leave under good terms, or do you want to get rid of her, or what was the situation when she left?
No, she was ready to retire.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's ready to take the golden handshake.
Well, I think in every situation, there's a time and a place. At the time, she was a good chancellor. But a lot of things have changed over the last, been quite a while since I think when she retired. So, every chancellor we get, it's different. So, to say that one was better than the other, or one as good as the other,
It's her
depends on the
choice.
situation, so.
It was her choice, not, the board never indicated.
And I would say too,
Joan,
might surprise people, but I actually, after she left, I remember commenting to her one time. I don't even remember what the issue was, but I said, I think if you would have been here, this wouldn't have gotten this far, and I just wanted you to know that. So that's not
Yeah.
weighing in on my decision with her for
No, me
ACCT.
neither. As I said, in my opinion, when I was here, I thought she was a good chancellor. But
Can that
Now
price
I-
be negotiated? I'm wondering, is
No.
that, nope, that's
It's
it.
standard, and they do it nationally. I'm just saying, they don't negotiate that. But
I know it's hard for you. So at this point in time, I think we're talking about whether we favor eliminating ACCT for now. And show of hands.
Eliminate.
But what's the question?
Eliminate.
Eliminate.
ACCT.
And let me say from consideration, ACCT. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's good. All right, so now we will consider the other two. And we have PPL and CCSS, the Community College Search Services.
Well, obviously, I'm rather concerned that PPL has not really provided us with the kind of service we would hope to have from them as a result of Gina's comments. I'm concerned now, and I appreciate your honesty, because I think that's important. I wouldn't want to get into a search like this that's so important to us and then have similar problems occur. So at this point, I'm really concerned.
Well, I'd like to make a comment about that too, is that it's kind of hard when that's dumped on us. We have no opportunity to hear the other side. And if we were to go with PPL, and I could be happy with either of the two remaining, but I think each has certain advantages. But we could certainly say we are concerned about this. This was mentioned to us, so we expect confidentiality to be impeccable. And when they say that they couldn't help you out, maybe it's because they were already committed and didn't have more personnel. I mean, they couldn't assist you because the people were providing their services to other districts that had already hired them. Because I think we are concerned about someone taking on more than they can chew. So that could have been the situation with that.
Well, but
My issue with the other firm too, again, PPO was gonna focus on us, and Ben Duran was gonna be the lead versus Dr. White, who's, she's,
3 or 4.
yeah, it was not, I don't do 4, I do a lot of 1s and 2s and some 3. I like being the focus, and I appreciate the concerns that staff's brought up too about these vice chancellor and other searches. That also seemed to be what Dr. White had focused on when I looked at the recent ones. So, the chancellor, that's a completely different animal, and I don't know, my gut just tells me with that proximity, the knowledge of the area, the focus, he knows, I think he was genuinely surprised at that, and I think he would definitely not want to let that happen, especially in his own backyard. the issue of the old versus the new, that actually was one of the things I'd written down. I wasn't gonna say everything in the beginning, but I like the idea that they have somebody like Joan just retiring, coming on board and assisting with that search, having that kind of recent knowledge. I thought that was a nice compliment to their proposal. And I think that's about it. It's kind of a gut call, at this point.
I kind of liked the way that Dr. Hoyt did her presentation. She seemed to be very personal, and she came out from behind the podium and just kind of talked to us and said, how things go. And I liked the way she answered our questions, very personal. And when I asked her about the newspaper thing, because I had some concerns about that when she said, I thought, oh my gosh. And then when she answered that, they don't work for the newspapers anymore, they are part of our staff, I thought, okay, well, I'm good with that. I'm leaning towards the CCSS. That PPL stuff, and I did ask him that question. You said we should maybe follow up on that, but I asked him about their integrity and what they're doing.
Why did you single out, that's the only firm you asked that kind of question of?
Because I had talked to Angie, and she said, well, just what Gina had said, that she said, they almost ruined her career by breaching the confidentiality.
How did they do it? What did they do?
When you are a finalist, you say, please do not, or
But
when
you don't want it.
before you get to be a finalist, I think it is, isn't it, Joan?
Right.
Before you're a
Yeah, 'cause
finalist, you
after
say,
that, you don't get
please don't let my college president know that I'm looking for this job
Right.
because of the obvious.
Right.
They did that anyway.
So what they call it is, hey, we want you to know that you're vice president.
No, they called for a reference. What do you think about Angie Fairchild?
See,
She's
when you
applying for this
apply
job.
for jobs, and when you apply for jobs at the CEO level, you really don't share with your institution that you're applying until you make a finalist.
Okay.
And then it's really important that they keep that level of confidentiality and don't do reference checks until you hit the finalist level, or like in between, like, okay, say if I applied for a job now, say College of the Marin, and I'm just in the applicant pool and they're screening those applicants, then I just check a box and say, please don't share with my board until I make a finalist, and then please allow me to share with the board first.
Like
And
what
then
we
start
just
your reference call,
received.
right, so,
Okay.
so that kind of thing. So they started calling, they didn't honor that, and they start calling, and it's not the first time I've heard of that happening.
Do you think it was intentional or a mistake?
No, I think
Oh,
it's
just
sloppy.
Sloppy.
Well, and actually, they called Angie and said, oh, we're so sorry, what can we do to, make it better? Well, it's like, the horse is out of the gate.
I've heard that from other CEOs
Can't
as
shut the
well. It's
door
just-
now,
So,
Well,
you know,
then how does Pam Fisher check the semifinalists?
well,
Oh, that's a good
I-
question. Yeah, how does that work?
well, I can tell you how they do it. It's because she's really checking the finalists. So, for example, it's like, you're really a it's like, they get say maybe, all right, you 5 are finalists, and they check that before it's released to the newspaper. So maybe instead of releasing 5, they'll release 3.
So technically, they were semifinalists.
technically-
Yeah,
Do you see what I'm saying?
pending the background.
Pending
then
the
they're
background
finalists.
checks and whatever, and
It's
they
the same
don't.
group.
It's the same
Yeah.
group, but they don't call them finalists
Gotcha.
until they get to, before they release the names, they go, okay, and then we'll pull them out here, pull them out here, pull them out here. So, I probably know too much about all these people and all these things from behind the scenes. Really what you need, your search consultant to do is 2 things. One, to make a lot of phone calls to talk about your institution and build your pool. And then after that, to do deep level reference checks. Those are the 2 things really the search consultants do. All the rest is, are those kinds of things. I've worked with Ben Duran before. He's a good person. I've worked with PPL before. As chancellor in this district, with some of their searches and some of their things. I have not found them to be real responsive. That's just,
That's what we're.
but I'm just saying, I have not found them to be,
Who was the head
Go.
person for Angie's search? Was it Ben Duran?
I don't think so. He was still,
He was still Mr. President then.
he
wasn't
might have still been at Merced, but I'm not sure, or on his way out, or
But
maybe
one of the
not with
things
them.
I want to avoid is I do not want to go to one of the finalists, the 4 finalist interviews, and get there and hear that so-and-so backed out because his wife came with him and saw what Modesto was like, and they left. I mean, that's a huge waste of time, effort, and money.
But you-
So someone who can really inform people of what's unique to our area, what's great about our area, tell our story to the area, to me, is very important, and I think probably
But-
Ben Duran would
but-
be best at that. And
You know, I
someone that
haven't-
lives in Marin maybe doesn't really understand
And I know what
it.
you're referring to with that, Ann, but the person who did that was born and raised in Modesto and told all that. And sometimes you need to understand that that's not the search consultant's fault. That's what I'm saying. I probably know too much about all this because in that, and I'm just really being honest with you guys, and I don't have any dog in this fight, obviously. But I just really, if you're going to make a decision one way or the other, you just really know the facts. A lot of times, what people do is apply for 5, 6 jobs. And sometimes they use that as an excuse because they don't want to say, I'm getting more money here, or I have a preference here, or whatever. And in that instance that you're talking about, when I did a little more research, they didn't have to relocate at their other job, didn't have to take their high school kid out of school, and yes, the other was true, but there was a lot more, and they got paid another $20,000 a year. So there were other issues, because I got to know that person a little
Isn't he
bit
the one they
better.
appointed the new president at State Center?
Pardon me? Yes, he's the new chancellor.
He's the new chancellor at State Center.
So, but anyway, but I don't want to go into a lot of details with that right now in open session. But all I guess I'm saying is, you know,
Well, that's neither here nor there for right now.
Can I make a comment? I'm still fine with either one, really, truly. But I tell you, what was important to me was the question that I asked. And it's contrary to what you feel, Joan, and that is when I asked him about the board upfront time in terms of getting ready to go out in the foundation, PPL said, well, it'll take about an hour to do. And Fran White said, well, we may need a couple meetings to do that. And to me, I really see that the foundation, because I think the board really wants to give input up front and shape it rather than just find good candidates and pick at the end. Now, maybe it's meaningless, but it makes me feel better about understanding the process better. And maybe, yeah, it may not change. A good candidate is a good candidate, but
that doesn't,
just like that.
I don't feel contrary about that. I just said those are the 2 key things that you really want to make sure they do is have a good network and whatever. But-
So
Well, I
I
think-
just wanted to report back to you, Fran has responded, and she wanted to share that Al Fernandez did the search when Yosemite hired Jim Riggs at Columbia, and Tom Harris did the chancellor search in 2005 when Ken White was hired.
Ken White was
Yeah, I
in.
remember.
Would have been an interim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember both of them.
Okay. So she just reported back. I wanted to let you know that she got back to us.
Okay.
Yeah, those weren't our, I kind of wish, though, that CCSS was their comprehensive searches, they don't mention the name or the year as the
That's
others
correct.
did. And I think that's sloppy. And those go so far back, what you just mentioned, those are so far back that, I don't know.
Well, they weren't lying, so,
I don't want a sloppy search, basically, and I'm just kind of concerned with what's been stated, that we've got 2 organizations that do somewhat.
Well, I can tell you issues with ACCT too. And so I'm just saying, truly, the feedback on these things, from my point of view, they're all on level playing fields. So so I can, but again, you know, I don't want to come out and diss some group, but I'm just saying I could, like I said, I'm in the CEO network very, very strongly. I know all these people. I know some of the searches they've done, and I know people who won't use any of the three groups because of huge faux pas because of that, okay? I'm on record, there we go. But by the same token, I know all of them have done pretty good searches. So I could say, you know, if you guys thought I was a good chancellor, ACCT was used with me when I was the president up at Columbia.
See.
So I'm just saying they were used with me, and I knew the person doing the search. I worked with him on a bunch of projects in LA, and I didn't even know Columbia was a college in this system. And he called me and he said, you know, hey, I think this might be a fit because you said jokingly to me one day that you didn't want a job in LA. Your husband was looking for a cutesy little place in the woods. I've got it for you. So, all I'm trying to say is that's how Columbia, you know, good, better, and difference. That's how I got them. The CCSS group, I know one of the reasons they don't put the dates on is because they don't like to necessarily associate people and when they got their times and whatever like that. I worked for and or with all those people, full disclosure, in the Ventura district. Jim Walker was my chancellor. Al Fernandez was my chancellor. I knew Fran White from the CEO group. I know all these people. They are very nice, reputable people. I know Ben Duran. He's a very nice, reputable person. So, and you know, so in with all of these people, you know, I know some searches that went really well. I know some searches that went really, really poorly. If you're down to two, whichever one you're more comfortable with, if you like more upfront, work with the board. I know CCSS does a lot of time with that and spends a lot of time with the board. So, you know, just take your pick. You know, you're going to get a pool of people, and
Well, let me go this way. I don't think there's much more we can really say unless we figure ourselves what we want to do. So why don't we just do a random selection? Linda, who would you go with? So who would you have a preference with at this time?
Well, you've already eliminated my preference.
I know, so now you got to choose between the other two.
I don't know. Let me think about it a little bit more, because I haven't really decided.
Lynn?
CCSS.
CCSS.
CCSS?
PPL.
PPL.
I'll go with CCSS. I was impressed by her presentation. And I think you're only as near as a telephone when it comes to communication. And I think that, I don't care who we choose, I think they would make it a point to come and do a real search as to what we need in our area. And so that's why I was, and just reading both documents, I think that CCSS has a, I wouldn't say a better network, but I think a more wider perspective of the network for recruiting. So that's my opinion. So
Well,
Okay,
four
I
of us
guess we're
said
done.
CCSS.
I know, but I want to leave it open so we.
It's already been decided.
It's been decided.
I think
I mean,
so.
it's courtesy. For me, it's courtesy. Man. You said you'd go either way. Tom said PPL.
I said PPL.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you say.
I said,
PPL.
I mean, I'm not, given the choice of the two, I would go PPL, but I won't be unhappy with CCSS.
No, that's it.
I just had
I
my
didn't realize
preference,
you said-
but
I
you've got
didn't-
4 votes, that's all you need.
Well, I didn't hear you say something, so that's. And I don't want to
Ask
not
what I
value.
said.
I don't want to not value your opinion.
Well, then ask what I say if you don't hear me.
Okay, so what you said is PPL. I didn't
Yes.
hear you say that.
Okay.
All right, Linda. I just value the opinions. That's all.
I'll go with CCSS, I guess.
All right, then that's the way we'll go. And
We just put that on our next agenda or something?
yes, we'll make it for approval on at.
Got-
For
yeah.
Wednesday? No.
Too late for them.
That one has gone out already.
Well, I know, but I thought you
You
could
can walk it
you
on
could have
if you-
put something on
you
that
could-
the board will vote, you know, you
Yeah.
could have done that the board will select,
Well,
you know, a committee,
I-
a provider.
Well, we could walk it on, I'm just saying, but I can't put it on at this late date.
Can we walk it on? Because I think the sooner we start, the better.
Well, you could start without it being formally approved. I mean, you could just direct me and say, do an early start, and we could do it without that. It's like, it doesn't have to be a formal board thing, but you could certainly walk it on. I will get you language, and you could walk it on Wednesday.
You gotta, we really can't, you have to find there's a need for immediate action, and it came out after the agenda was posted. I don't know the need for immediate action.
Okay, then
This
I
point.
could do an
Timeframe-
early start.
I thought we were going to have it listed as an agenda item that the board will select, you know, the agency to handle this thing. I thought it was going to be
That's
listed.
what this meeting is.
It's not agendized that way, though.
We have to give
But it could
48,
have been, that's what I thought was happening.
we have to give 48 hours notice.
I didn't know you would pick somebody today.
That was our plan.
Well,
There, I know, you weren't there, it didn't get communicated to you.
Well, I mean, we put it on, we could notify everybody, tell them that the proposed action is gonna be to formally enter into an agreement in May.
Yeah.
That's the,
yeah, and I mean, you could start before then and
Yeah.
work on it. The only thing that, the contract won't be executed until then, but we can work with it. I mean, that's easy enough to do.
And the consultants will be,
Oh, they'll be fine
they'll
with
be
that.
fine with that? Okay.
If they do work for the district, all they're worried about is getting their money, and they know that their contract will come and they'll get it. I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
don't
no,
worry
it's a
about it.
business, yeah.
So it's a business, I mean, they'll get their contract and whatever. Okay. So,
Well, I think,
So what am I to do with the agenda, or call a special meeting, an emergency meeting? Because those truly
Oh.
are dictated by
thought
hours.
we were gonna
Yeah.
walk it on, or
No.
what are we gonna do?
no, we're gonna
We're
wait
not
till
gonna do
May, put
anything.
it on
Wait
in
till
May,
May.
I'm gonna call the.
are we having any other
consultant company.
special meetings
But don't we
before
have to
May?
report
We're,
it?
I could do it on,
Are we doing
next
something
Monday,
else?
we're having a Title IX meeting.
That's what, yeah, we could.
I
put
can
for
put it
that.
on that agenda,
Yeah.
which would be easier and cleaner.
Yeah.
And then we could put the language on at that time, and we can
Good.
handle it at that time,
Yeah.
and then. Perfect. How does that sound? And
Sounds
then,
better.
Fine, yeah.
all right.
And were we going to determine when we meet again?
Oh, on the committee? you mean?
No, on the
Well,
consultant. My
our
question
next
is,
meeting to discuss
is
this, I
who is
guess.
going
Oh.
to
Talk about
call
that
the
Monday.
consultants to
then
let
we
them
have
know
to-
what we're doing?
It's up to Gina,
I can call.
HR.
Yes, Gina will do it and schedule times, and we'll work with your schedules and everything like that, and I'll put it on next time. Okay.
And
Yeah,
then,
express our opinion that we thought they all did a good job and they all had supporters.
Okay.
I think at that time too, also we'll work on the committee,
Okay,
because it'll be, we'll get a head start on that too,
you mean next Monday,
next Monday.
What
yeah.
time's that meeting?
1
I
to
didn't
4.
have that. Okay.
12 to 4.
12 to,
12 to 4? Thought it was 1 to 4.
put it-
I know I sent out an email on that one, because I forgot to put the date. Then I sent out a follow-up. So, 12 to 4. But that's gonna be part open session, part closed session, because part of it is negotiations, with that. So just so you know, the training will be open session and closed session. So, and I'll just list everything.
I knew we were talking about
Yeah.
And,
switching it.
and what we're gonna do to save time is we're just gonna have lunch in here at noon, so everybody's clear on lunch. We're gonna have it in this room, and then you can just eat while the training's going on to save time.
Good.
All right?
okay, then are we all through with the discussion?
Mhm.
No questions? Okay, the next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held April 13th this year. Closed session will begin at 3:30, open session at 5:30 here in the Yosemite Community College District Boardroom, 2201 Blue Gum Avenue, Modesto. With that, meeting adjourned.
If anybody has any questions on agenda reviews,